Next up, we're going to look at one of my favorite indicators and one of the most misunderstood ones, called the MACD. In order to explain it fully, I'm going to open up a new chart. You don't need to follow along with this for now. We're opening up a new chart, so I'm going to stick on our blank templates and make sure that we are at current price. And I'm going to add the MACD. You will find it under Indicators List, Custom, MACD. It starts off with the about that we don't really need. Nothing needs to be changed in common. Inputs are the different periods that you're going to be using for the MACD. We find that the default settings of 12, 26 and 9 work fine, so we don't need to change it. Just take note that it is a fast EMA for the 12, a slow EMA for the 26, and the signal SMA of 9. I will explain this once it's loaded up. Under colors, we can select the color of the bars, and this is the color of the moving average. You'll see if I just click OK, it'll come out as silver. But now the silver is quite hard to see, so I'm going to right click on it, go to properties, and change the silver to black. This should make it a lot easier for you to see what's happening. Now MACD stands for Moving Average Convergence Divergence. Convergence is obviously when two things come together, and divergence is when two things split apart. And moving average, we already know what those are. I'm going to add the two moving averages, the 12 and the 26 exponential, and then I'll explain to you how MACD works. So now I've put in the 12 and the 26 exponential moving averages. MACD is something a lot of people like to show off because it looks very interesting and it looks difficult, but as soon as you know exactly how it works, it makes it a lot easier to understand. It is basically measuring the distance between a 12 and a 26 moving average. In this case, it's using exponential moving averages, and it's displaying the difference using these vertical bars. So you'll see that I've drawn in the 12 and the 26, and where they cross over, you'll see MACD also crosses over. It goes from negative to positive. Whenever it's negative, it means that the 12 is below the blue line, or the 26, and when it goes positive, that's when the 12 is above the 26. That's all the MACD is. It's basically a moving average crossover system, all on its own. Now we can use the MACD in different ways. For example, if you are looking at a system, like say this sort of crossover system, but you also wanted to add larger moving averages, which will work differently. You could use it to confirm motions or perhaps even a separate trigger. Instead of needing to add another two moving averages on top of this to make life difficult, you could load a MACD at the bottom, which will give you all of that information without cluttering up your space. This is the signal moving average, or the simple moving average. It works the exact same way that a simple moving average does on the regular chart, except it is using the outputs from the MACD itself. So, as an example at this level here, whatever this value is, it is the average closing price of the last 9 MACD candles. There's a couple interesting triggers that we can use from the MACD alone. One is, because it is a crossover system, we could consider points where it goes from negative to positive as a signal to buy, or where it goes from positive to negative as a signal to sell. And you'll see that quite often it works out. This is in real time, so we can see what's been happening here. We had a negative MACD that went positive, and sure enough, the charts did move up for some time. As the MACD crossed over from positive to negative, we had a crossover, and the markets came down and stayed going down for quite a while. We can see at this point that the 12 and the 26 got quite close, And we can see that the MACD is representing that by having smaller bars until eventually it crosses over and we see that the market shot up quite a lot. So on its own, the MACD shows you very interesting opportunities for trading just by when it goes from positive to negative. We will be using the MACD in the strategy that we're going for, but we won't be using these values of 12 and 26. I'll show you what we will be doing.